Imagine this, your child walks into the Year 6 SATs exam calm and confident and ready to tackle the maths paper with ease. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, in this video, we're breaking down everything you need to know to help your child prepare for the Year 6 maths SATs without the stress or the confusion. By the end of this simple guide, you'll be able to understand what's needed in the preparation process to help your child ace their Year 6 maths SATs papers. Let's start by identifying which papers need to be tackled in the maths sections for the SATs. The maths SATs are divided into 3 key papers. The first paper is arithmetic, and it's worth 40 marks. This paper focuses on calculations and gets progressively harder. There are some key areas in which you need to practice. To start with, the 4 operations, so that's addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. You'll also need to be able to carry out long division, fractions, and percentage calculations, and you'll need to understand the order operations, that's BIDMAS, as well as negative numbers and how they work. We suggest starting with the basic operations and then gradually tackling the more challenging skills. Click somewhere up here to work through some of these topics alongside one of our tutors. Now, paper 2 and paper 3 are both reasoning papers, and they're both worth 35 marks each. These papers test problem solving and logic and include topics such as fractions, decimals, percentages, and geometry, as well as statistics, ratio, and other multi-step problems. Here, we suggest encouraging your child to break complex problems into smaller, more manageable steps. Now, I think the best way for us to show you this is to actually explain it and to work through an example together. So let's do that now. A tank holds 300 litres of water. 2/5 of the water is used. Then 1/4 of the remaining water is used. And finally, 20 litres are added back in. Now, how much water is left? Here's how we can break this down. First, we need to calculate 2/5 of 300. So we can either do 300 divided by 5 and then times that answer by 2, or we can do 2/5 multiplied by 300. As I always say to the students in my class, of means times. Either way, that gives us 120. Next, we have to subtract that from the total. So 300 minus that 120 leaves us with 180. We then have to find 1/4 of 180 and subtract the answer from 180. Again, we can do 180 divided by 4 and then times by 1, or you can do 1/4 times 180. Either way, that works out to 45. So 180 take away 45 gives you 135. You could also use percentage multipliers here, but we're going to keep it straightforward just for this example. Finally, we need to add that extra 20 litres. So 135 add 20 is 155. Now, I have seen students repeatedly try to skip steps, jump straight to the answer, or even avoid doing working out altogether, just so that their paper looks nice and neat. We would encourage working systematically, step by step, to avoid mistakes. Now, I mentioned that paper 1 is worth 40 marks and papers 2 and 3 are worth 35 marks each. It's worth remembering that in these exams, the scores are scaled, meaning your child's raw marks are adjusted to account for the difficulty, with 100 being the expected standard, where scores above 100 show that they've exceeded expectation, while scores below 100 indicate some more work might be needed. Remember, these tests are a measure of progress, not a prediction of future success. Next, let's talk about study routines. It's important to create a study routine that works for your child. But how can I help my child stick to a study routine? To keep your child on track, we suggest the following things. Setting realistic goals by focusing on weaker areas first. Next, make sure the sessions are effective, so use short, focused blocks like 25 minutes of study, then 5-minute breaks. This is the Pomodoro technique. Engage your child, so let them choose topics that they find tricky. And finally, collaborate with them. So create a timetable that balances study with relaxation. We're going to talk more about this a little bit later on. Next, let's talk about resources. In our classes, we have dedicated resources to address specific SAT skills. But here are some excellent additional resources that we recommend to any parent working with their children at home for extra practice. A fantastic Mathematics Key Stage 2 series for primary school is the Mental Arithmetic series by Schofield and Sims. I'd recommend getting the teacher's guide first so that you can assess your child and decide which book is suitable. I also think the Peter Robson series is really good, and these books can take you from primary all the way to GCSE. There's 5 of them all together, but the first one is what I'd recommend for this. There are links to these books alongside a couple of other recommendations in the description, so make sure you check them out after this video. We've also included books to master basic skills, books to practice exam-style questions, and additional test practice papers. Preparing for SATs, or any exam for that matter, can and probably will be quite overwhelming, especially to a 10 or 11-year-old. Therefore, mental well-being, as you can imagine, will affect exam performance. Focus on effort over perfection to reduce pressure. Being consistent with your study throughout the year is more effective than last-minute cramming. The techniques for children are no different to those for adults. Teach calming techniques like deep breathing to help manage nerves. For specific mental health concerns, make sure you consult an expert. Here are a few ways you can support your child at home. Stay positive. Emphasize effort over results. Make sure you start early, so spread out the preparation process to reduce last-minute stress. Make sure they're getting enough exercise, because physical activity stimulates the release of endorphins, which is the body's natural feel-good chemical, and this can help reduce feelings of stress and anxiety. And finally, balance. Remember, balance is key. So make sure your work and your play are given equal weighting. You'll be surprised how much information actually goes into long-term memory during the times that you're not actively working. And finally, remember, SATs are just a stepping stone, they're not the final finish line. With the right preparation and support, your child can walk into that SATs exam feeling confident and capable. If you have any other questions, drop them in the comments below and we'll get back to you.
I reckon I can do a SATs paper in 5 minutes.
What? Five minutes?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I reckon so.
Okay, well, if you want to see John do a SATs paper in 5 minutes, or attempt to, click here.